Welcome back to Tiny Tinas Wonderlands. In this video we are going through 19 crucial tips to help out new players. There are some things that might come across as a little bit more advanced, but I'm going to do my very best to explain them to help you guys out. And just quickly, before we get any further into the video, if you're not currently subbed to the channel, make sure you do sub, turn notifications on. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like. All support is greatly appreciated. And if you want to support me further as a creator, then check out the links in the description. And let's get into it. Loot is going to be very, very important in this game. It's going to help you whether you're running a legendary, a purple, a blue. It's going to help you deal more damage to the enemies. And there is a stat in this game called Loot Luck, and you can level this up by leveling up in general, finding golden dice around the different maps, collecting all 4 pieces of the Loot Luck shrine, by finding an amulet that boosts your loot luck, by getting a shield that boosts your loot luck, or by leveling up your chaos or your myth rank. It's going to boost your loot luck, meaning that you have a better legendary drop chance and also a higher chance of getting boss specific loot. So make sure that you focus on the exploration and earning your XP before you start farming bosses. If you go in with a really bad loot luck and you're farming a boss, you not only have a bad chance of getting a boss drop, you also have a bad chance of legendaries. So make sure you level up, increase your loot luck, and you'll have a better chance of getting legendary drops and boss drops, which are going to be a lot of fun in the game. Next up, there is a thing in this game called enchantments. You can basically add extra stats to your weapons. And you need to be careful with this, because when you are rolling your enchantments, you have a chance to re-roll them. You only get 11 rolls on a weapon before you can no longer do it, as there is a thing in the game called moon orbs, and you can only have a max of 4,000. Each re-roll of your enchantment is going to cost more and more, and after doing 11 re-rolls, it will cost over 4,000, so you can't do any more. However, one good thing about the re-rolling is you have the choice. After you've done a re-roll, you can either accept the new enchantment, or you can discard it and keep your old one. And one note about this is you must complete the story in order to re-roll enchantments. You can't do it any time before. Going back to things related to loot luck, when you do come across a golden dice to level up your luck, you're also going to get some free loot from the dice as well, which is quite cool. And when you are looking at the map for an area you are in, always tab along and check the progress tab, just so that you don't miss out on items, because it's going to tell you all the golden dice, all the different collectibles and stuff from that map. So make sure you're checking it so that you don't move on too early before you have discovered everything. That's if you're trying to basically like max achievements and everything like that, find all the collectibles, boost your chances at luck. If you're just playing to get through the game, get to the end game and everything, then obviously that doesn't matter. Another one is there are cryo weapons in the game, and these are crazy overpowered, so make sure you keep your eyes open for them. Then we move on to shrines. There are things in the game called shrines, and once you complete the objectives of these from the overworld, they have specific objectives, and once you complete them, you will get permanent buffs for your character. Then in terms of those buffs, if you go to your journal screen, you can check the buffs and see what you've got there. Also in the overworld, there are secret areas that are locked behind different ways to traverse the overworld, so make sure you pay attention to where these are on your map, and when you have done enough to unlock the ability to get there, you'll know exactly where to go, so it's kind of like preparing in advance. And in the game, you have a main hub called Bright Hoof. When you do fast travel back there, there's going to be an orb that's in the center, and if you interact with that orb, it's going to teleport you straight back to where you came from, so it makes it a lot easier. You don't have to memorize exactly where you've been and where you've come from and all that sort of stuff. It just makes it a lot more accessible, going back to the hub, messing around with a few things, and then getting straight back into the action. And in this game, similar to Borderlands, you have vending machines. I would completely ignore those unless you're incredibly rich. You will get plenty of loot just from playing the game. There are these things, again similar to Borderlands, called SDU upgrades. You can upgrade things like storage capacity, so I would focus your money on those instead. Buying from the vending machines has never been a thing that you would really do if you're trying to get to the end game and all that sort of stuff, because they are just so expensive. I mean, unless there's like a special item of the day or something like that, I don't think a lot of the stuff from vending machines is going to be good, unless your weapon at the current time is really, really bad. There are 2 different leveling systems in Tiny Tinas Wonderlands. You have standard levels and you have hero levels. Hero levels will let you buff your stats. So if you go in with one of your stats being 10, you gain a hero level, you can push that up to 11. And the best way to start leveling up in the game is by doing some of the side quests. as these will award a good chunk of XP, and you can also get some cool loot from them. Some of the purple and blue quest items are really powerful, so don't avoid them. Make sure you're doing the side quests as well as the main ones, because there's all different sources of XP and you'll reach the level cap, which is 40, a lot faster. When you are picking your character, make sure that you are 100% sure about the class, as you cannot change it when you are in the game. Although when you are later in the game, you can multi-class, but the secondary class can be changed, but your primary class cannot. And when you're choosing your secondary class, make sure that you are ready to stick with that class as well, because even though you can change it, it's not until a lot later, and it'll be around level like 15 or that sort of area where you unlock the multi-class, and you can't change it until after the story. So your secondary class, even though you can pick and change it, you can't change it until the end of the story, so also be sure about picking that class as well as your primary starting class. Another one is when you are in boss fights, do not focus on taking down the ads. They are going to come in very handy, especially if the boss is quite powerful, because if the boss takes you down, you go into something which was known as Second Wind. I think it's Save Your Soul now. And you have a chance for a brief amount of time to kill an enemy and revive yourself. So keep those ads alive. Just keep like training them or looping them around the area whilst you're focusing on the boss. And that way if the boss, or even if one of the ads do take you down, you have an easier time getting yourself back up. And then don't worry about loot if you've missed any from boss fights or anything like that, because Tiny Tinas Wonderlands does have a loot machine that's going to pick up all of the high quality loot that you miss. So again, absolutely do not worry if you think you've missed a loot drop. And there are also things in the game called encounters, and when you do these, there are going to be traps around the area. These traps can hurt you or even kill you, but they can also affect the enemies. So try and stick around the traps and lure your enemies into them, especially if you're finding it hard. Not only that, it's going to make the experience more fun, just being able to lure enemies into traps and get the game to kill them. Weapons in Tiny Tinas Wonderlands can have elemental attack types, so pay big attention to the enemies you're attacking and make sure they're not heavily resistant to your attack type, because for an example, if you've got cryo, the enemy might be resistant to cryo, so you're not going to deal much damage at all. But another really good thing about this is you can apply status effects to the ground, which can also damage you, so be careful at the same time, but you can apply things like freeze or anything like that to the ground, and then if the enemies walk over it, they're going to take damage. So there's a lot of different cool ways to play this game. Also in Tiny Tinas Wonderlands, instead of your typical grenades, you get spells. These will replace the grenades, but make sure you're always running relevant spells. Some of them are going to be really powerful, some of them are going to be weak. It's just about playing the game and figuring out what's what. So one final tip is about the legendary drops in Tiny Tinas Wonderlands. These legendaries will have dynamic rolls. They're not going to be static. The rolls can be different every single time. So if you are able to get your hands on a duplicate legendary, I would definitely have a look at it. I wouldn't just go and sell it or whatever. I wouldn't get rid of it because it might be good. It might actually be better than what you're currently running. So always check the stats on your drops, just to be 100% sure that you're not getting rid of something by selling it or anything like that, because it might be better and it might be the difference of dying or defeating a boss. And that was a look at 19 crucial things that are going to help you with the start of your journey in Tiny Tinas Wonderlands. That is also going to wrap up the video. Let me know your thoughts and stuff in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. I hope you guys enjoyed it.